Join us for a story that has made a lasting impression on the charming town of Davis, California. For those who are not familiar, Davis is a calm, academic community located within the state of California. Known for being a safe haven and one of the best places to live in the state, it was the ideal location for Claudia Maupin to reside. Nevertheless, an unexpected incident that nobody could have foreseen shook this peaceful neighborhood in the spring of 2013. Prior to discussing the specifics, we extend our condolences to the families of Claudia Maupin and Oliver Northup. As we go through their stories, we hold them in our thoughts and prayers. Watch until the conclusion, where a shocking revelation awaits you, certain to provide you with a thrilling experience unlike any other. Now, let's briefly divert our attention to the history of Davis, California. Established in 1868 and originally called Davisville after Jerome C. Davis, a nearby livestock farm owner. The city began using the abbreviated name Davis in 1917, 10 years after the post office made the switch. In 1905, the University of California established itself in this location, transforming it into a lively community centered around education. Claudia Maupin, a lively 67-year-old grandmother, was attracted to Davis's youthful enthusiasm. She frequently attended local theater shows and was an involved member of the Unitarian Church. After going through the challenges of 2 divorces, Claudia longed for a partner, someone to connect with on a deep level. She discovered love again when she embarked on a spiritual journey that brought her to the Unitarian Church. Introducing Oliver Northup, affectionately called Chip. Chip, who was 11 years older than Claudia, was a highly regarded lawyer, skilled musician, founder of a church, and a veteran of World War II. Their relationship was a touching story of love and friendship that quickly gained the approval of their families. The couple got married in 1996, exuding happiness and affection that could be felt by everyone there. They appeared to have found their ideal partners in each other, and their relationship seemed flawless. Who could have predicted that this beloved couple was about to become targets of a terrible crime? Come and join us as we uncover the specifics of this surprising story from Davis, California. They lived in the peaceful town of Davis, known for its safety. On the memorable evening of Saturday, April 13, 2013, Claudia and Chip said their last goodnight. As the sun rose, they were noticeably missing from their usual Sunday church service, a surprising development that caused worry among their family. As dedicated churchgoers, there must have been a significant reason for them to miss the service. Efforts to contact them by phone were unsuccessful as both calls were forwarded to voicemail. The family, though, dismissed it, assuming the couple just chose to sleep in. However, when Chip, an important member of the local folk band, did not show up for an afternoon performance, concerns grew stronger. At that time, Robert, his son, decided to visit them at their home. After ringing the doorbell, Robert received no response, and even after waiting, he was met with silence. Based on Robert's observations, it appeared that the couple was going on a vacation, just the 2 of them. He possessed a key to their condominium, but out of consideration for their personal space, he opted not to utilize it. He turned away in the opposite direction, not wanting to disturb the couple's private moments. As night approached, Laura, Claudia's stepdaughter, began to feel increasingly uneasy. Since there had been no communication from them for some time, she chose to inspect their condominium. She pressed the doorbell, but after a few minutes of no response, her intuition prompted her to explore more. She went down the stairs and strolled around the building, her eyes searching the windows for any signs of activity. She felt a sudden wave of concern when she saw an open window with its screen appearing to be cut. A foreboding sensation swiftly settled in her stomach. She had a deeply unsettling feeling that something was wrong. The scene she saw when she looked into the condo was shocking, an image that she would never forget. The living room was a disturbing sight, with blood that had soaked into the couch, carpet, and furniture, leaving them stained in a disturbing shade of red. The scene was sufficient to make her quickly reach for her phone to contact the police and notify the family. Additional inquiry uncovered the unfortunate outcome that happened to the cherished pair. Claudia and Chip had suffered several stab wounds, their lives fading away in a pool of their blood. The coroner's report caused a great deal of surprise within the family as it disclosed that Chip had been stabbed 61 times and Claudia 67 times. This violent event was in clear opposition to the calm atmosphere of their small college town. The incident shocked the community, making it difficult for them to understand how someone could commit such a terrible act. The question that troubled them all was, why would anyone commit such a terrible act? After a terrible event, the family and friends of Chip and Claudia were left trying to understand a puzzling mystery. An astonishing 128 stab wounds left the close community unsettled, wondering about the pointless aggression and living in fear of a merciless killer on the loose. The air was filled with unspoken anxieties who might be the next one. However, the terror did not cease at that point. As per Police Lieutenant Paul Doroshoff, the ruthless murderer carried out strange tests on the remains of the elderly couple. A mobile phone was found embedded in Claudia's abdomen, and, in an equally horrifying turn of events, a glass for drinking was found in Chip's stomach. Doroshoff wished that these disturbing details could offer important hints about the person responsible, but the investigation continued to be unproductive. Despite the investigators' utmost attempts, deciphering the killer's intricate messages proved difficult to achieve. The crime scene was surprisingly clean, no evidence of a fight, no stolen items, not even a suggestion of a failed break-in. A group of 25 FBI agents arrived in the neighborhood, but their attempts to collect information were unsuccessful. It seemed like the ideal crime had been carried out, no traces, no evidence, absolutely nothing. Even the experienced FBI profilers were puzzled. The mystery became even more perplexing. Was this the result of an individual or a collective of murderers? Every new line of investigation appeared to generate more questions than answers. The initial belief was that the killer was someone who had a close relationship with Chip and Claudia. A family conflict or a personal disagreement appeared to be the most likely reason, as all indications pointed to a personal grudge. The situation, however, was far from being straightforward. The detectives created a story that someone with a key was part of the crime, and the cut in the screen door was just a distraction. This hypothesis raised suspicion towards the family members, who were later asked to come in for separate questioning. The investigation turned its attention to Chip's son Robert and his two sons, Oliver and Tony. Oliver was known to be struggling with schizophrenia. The police knew that Robert possessed a key to the couple's condominium. When questioned about their possible participation, Oliver stated their comprehension of the circumstances and their readiness to collaborate completely. They had no hidden agenda. The interrogation on the first day lasted for a total of 8 hours, while the following day concluded in 6 hours. The group, Robert, Oliver, and Tony, were exhausted, but they knew that Chip would have wanted them to help as much as they could. The father and sons were interviewed without legal counsel. Robert believed that the group was not guilty, but it's understandable that the two boys were quite anxious during the interrogation. Who wouldn't feel the same way? After inspecting Robert's belongings, the police found carpeting that had been cleaned with steam on the day of the killings. Investigators also discovered a somewhat disturbing drawing by Tony, showing a man holding a knife above two children in a bed. This type of evidence was anxiety-inducing and could readily be linked to the homicide. However, Robert stressed that it was an unfortunate occurrence. He had no clue that his father's killing would happen at the same time as his carpet cleaning. Mary Northup, Robert's spouse, supported the group. She claimed that they were not aggressive and that Chip valued every moment he spent with his two grandsons. The family was in agreement that it was impossible for any of them to have committed the murder of Chip and Claudia. Robert's family spent a large amount of money on hiring a lawyer for Tony and fixing the harm caused by the investigation. The Northup family, especially Tony, felt unfairly singled out. The police had removed their carpet for additional testing and taken out some plumbing fixtures to search for hidden evidence, leaving the trio feeling as if they wanted to vanish. Although Tony's name was ultimately vindicated, he couldn't rid himself of the sense that he was still being viewed with suspicion. 3 years after the killings, Tony took his own life. Oliver got a tattoo to remember his brother. Nevertheless, one evening caused a significant change. For 2 months, the police thought the murder was carried out perfectly. However, this was about to be disrupted. One night, they got a phone call. The person who made the call preferred not to disclose their identity, but it was later disclosed that they were named Alvaro Garibay.
What are you reporting?
Double homicide.
Imagine this, a 17-year-old boy from Davis High School making a surprising statement. His closest friend was a killer. This unexpected disclosure caused a strong reaction among the police force, immediately capturing their complete focus. It was an unusual clue that didn't match any of the investigators' suspicions. The name of the victim, Jeff Rising, seemed familiar to Yolo County DA, immediately recalling it from a few years ago. However, it was not associated with any malicious activities. The situation became more complex when it was disclosed that Dan Marsh, the alleged murderer, was previously praised as a young hero for rescuing his father. When Daniel was just 10 years old, he received the American Red Cross Heroes Award for skillfully administering CPR to his father during a heart attack.
Hero to accused teen killer. Video of then 12-year-old Daniel Marsh from 2009 when he was honored for saving his dad's life. And tonight, that 16-year-old is facing double murder charges for killing an elderly couple inside their Davis home.
The district attorney, at one point, had optimistic expectations for young Daniel Marsh, imagining a promising future for the teenager. Nevertheless, the surprising disclosure of him being charged with murder at the age of 15, particularly considering his courageous actions 5 years earlier, left everyone in astonishment. The extreme violence of the killings of Chip Northup and his wife Claudia was difficult to understand, and it was unimaginable that the person responsible would be a teenager who was once respected. During the murders, Daniel's father, Bill Marsh, was living next to the victims. Daniel personally resided with his mother, conveniently close to his father's home. As the shocking revelation of the bodies emerged, Bill was recovering at home after back surgery. The police investigation started right away, going door to door in the neighborhood, looking for any pieces of information. Although the victims were nearby, Bill stated that he did not know them because he had recently moved into the residence. Bill Marsh left his house only 2 weeks after the murders, explaining that he had to due to financial limitations. Agent Chris Campion vividly remembered a neighbor expressing doubt about Bill's quick departure shortly after the killings. Nevertheless, this did not cause any immediate concerns for the investigator. The attention on Daniel Marsh as a possible suspect may not have happened if it weren't for a phone call from Alvaro Garibay, a 17-year-old friend of Daniel's. 2 months later, Alvaro accused his friend of the murder. He disclosed that Daniel frequently discussed causing harm to others, a detail that Alvaro had previously disregarded as youthful overconfidence. The investigators were surprised by Alvaro's understanding of complex aspects of the crime, information that was only known by the investigators and the killer. The investigators questioned the young boy twice, leading them to consider a bold hypothesis: could he be the murderer? Alvaro Garibay shared the information with the investigators, recounting a disturbing story. His friend had a morbid interest in the study of human body structure. He desired a close and intimate perspective of Chip and Claudia's internal organs, and even attempted to remove an eyeball using a knife. Nevertheless, it turned out to be more difficult than he anticipated, and he gave up on the gruesome task. When asked why he didn't inform the authorities earlier, the young scholar admitted being extremely afraid for his own life and the lives of his family. Dan Marsh had menacingly warned of another attack. Skipping ahead to the summer of 2013, to be more precise, June 17th, and Daniel Marsh found himself in a difficult situation. However, rather than being unsettled, he appeared almost willing to collaborate. Now it was up to Ariel Pineda, a clever Davis detective, and Special Agent Chris Campion, who were assigned with uncovering the truth. Marsh stayed calm during the questioning, or at least in the beginning. He was certain he could persuade his way out of the situation without any harm. When questioned, he acted naive, stating that he didn't know anything about the entire situation. He adhered to the typical language that someone had entered and killed Chip and Claudia. The investigators were not convinced and spent the next 3 hours examining Marsh's life, looking for a weakness. Marsh presented himself as someone who is always alone, someone who is not accepted by society.
on the computer and do research on psychopaths?
Yeah.
Why did you do that?
I looked up sociopath and psychopath because I always found it fascinating, and the more I've aged, the more I can relate, because I don't feel sympathy for other people at all. I don't feel empathy for them, and whether I like that or not, it's the way it is. It's just like, I want to hurt people, I want to kill people, but I don't want to want that. I wish it wasn't that way.
The turbulent occurrence of Daniel's parents' divorce greatly impacted his childhood and resulted in long-lasting emotional wounds. His mother left his father to have a controversial relationship with none other than Daniel's kindergarten teacher, which caused a deep resentment in Daniel. The sense of betrayal he experienced was evident, to the point where he admitted to his close friend, Alvaro, a dark urge to harm her. This marked the start of a perilous journey into a realm of fury and self-inflicted harm. Daniel directed his anger towards himself, causing harm in the process. During an investigative interview, he indicated a set of marks on his left forearm, which served as evidence of his inner conflict. At the young age of 15, he was so eager to experience something other than the pain that he started to deprive himself of food. Daniel acknowledged his issue and willingly stayed at a treatment facility for 25 days to address his eating disorder. However, even though his anorexia was treated, the anger that consumed him remained. His friend disclosed the troubling information that Daniel had made 4 suicide attempts at the age of 14, despite the efforts of many therapists and doctors. Then, in December 2012, Daniel made a disturbing admission to a school counselor. He had dreams of causing harm to others. The counselor, scared by his disclosure, notified the police. Daniel was briefly admitted to the hospital, but after he was discharged, his condition deteriorated. During a police interview, Daniel refuted all allegations, including the accusations of Claudia and Chip's murders. Nevertheless, following 3 hours and 38 minutes of interrogation, he started to disclose his genuine character. Faced with Special Agent Chris Campion, Daniel confessed that his falsehoods were a last-ditch effort to safeguard himself. He was extremely afraid of being imprisoned for 2 killings he insisted he was innocent of. This acceptance was the significant development the investigator required. Daniel requested to be moved to a psychiatric hospital, and what he said next surprised investigators. He admitted that whenever he saw someone, he imagined causing harm to them. It was now clear that Daniel Marsh was a troubled person. He presented a danger to himself and others, having a dark interest in homicide. When the agent inquired about Daniel's method of eliminating him, the 15-year-old's reply was alarmingly prompt. He presented various techniques, ranging from using the agent's tie to strangle to a violent assault using a mirror and shattered glass. His last words to the agent were a detached confession, "It's not personal." After careful examination, it was definitively established that Daniel was mentally stable, even though he later pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. After confirming his mental stability, the jury found him guilty of 2 counts of first-degree murder. Extra fees, such as the use of a dangerous weapon, multiple killings, planned surprise attack, and suffering of the victims, were also confirmed. He received a sentence of 25 years to life for each murder charge, with an additional 2 years included for the other offenses. However, the legal proceedings did not end there. After Proposition 57 was passed in California in 2016, the juvenile court was granted the power to determine whether a minor's case should be heard in an adult court. Since this law had the possibility of being applied retroactively, Daniel's case was eligible for reassessment. As a result, a court decision in October of that year required Daniel to complete the rest of his sentence in prison. Currently, he is in custody at the Richard Jr. Donovan Correctional Facility in San Diego, California, according to the available records. By June 2037, he will be able to request parole. In addition, the California Supreme Court, in February 2021, affirmed a law called SB 1391 that prohibits the prosecution of teenagers as adults under any circumstances. This implies that Daniel has the possibility of being released from prison sooner than anticipated. From a protagonist to an antagonist, this is the distressing story of the violent killings of Claudia Maupin and Oliver Chip Northup. The offender was an unexpected one, a 15-year-old who, only 5 years before, had been a rescuer instead of a killer. Thank you for staying tuned until the conclusion. If you liked this video and would like to see more similar content, please subscribe, like, and click the notification bell to stay updated with our latest releases.